Hey everybody, and welcome to the third devlog for the Outbound Ghost. If you don't know what this game is about, it's an adventure game where you're an amnesiac ghost and you're trying to figure out the cause of your own death. You appear in the outskirts of a town full of ghosts since there was recently a murdering spree there. So you've also got to help all the ghosts that live there to pass on to the afterlife, and you do this through resolving their issues that they have on Earth so they're no longer bound to it. In terms of aesthetics and writing, it's very similar to Paper Mario, but gameplay-wise it's more similar to Undertale, since it has a lot of variety in its gameplay styles. If you remember from last week's devlog, and yes, I'm doing these weekly, so make sure to subscribe if you want to see more of those. But yeah, I announced the Kickstarter campaign for the game. It's going to be coming out on July 12th, and I released the pre-release page as well. Since then, the page has had 265 followers, which is super great. That's definitely more than I expected within not even a week. But it would really help me if you followed the pre-release page, because it really helps for visibility, and you'll also be able to get notified exactly when the campaign goes live, so you'll have more of an advantage when trying to get the early bird tiers that run out early. If you're interested, the link is in the description. But yeah, in terms of progress this week, I made this little area that's really important to the story actually, and it's where a lot of the main characters live. So the story is set in this town called Outbound, but as with many little towns, it's not really all centralized in one central location. So these characters actually live in the outskirts of the main town. Most of these characters you've already seen if you've seen the previous devlogs, and they're Michael, Mary, Corey, Shirley, Frank, and Adrian, and I'll explain a bit of what they're about right now. So Michael thinks he's a really cool detective, but he's actually just some random teenager who thinks he's awesome, but he's kind of a mess, and he thinks he's way more adept than he actually is, so he always gets in trouble. And then Mary, who's his sister, is always keeping an eye on him to make sure that nothing goes too badly. At the start of the story, which you'll actually be able to play in the Kickstarter demo, Michael actually thinks you're the killer of the whole town, and he takes Mary and Corey, which is a dog, to investigate the whole area, where he thinks the murderer might be lying, and he finds you, and so he thinks that you're maybe really sketchy. And Mary, who's more level-headed, is like, this is not the person we're looking for, so let's just focus on more important things. And then after a bit of a back and forth, they take you to the little town of Outbound. I mentioned earlier there's Corey, who's a dog, and she's not really at the forefront of the narrative, but you can pet her and she influences certain things in the story, so obviously that's all you can ask for of a dog. There's also Shirley, Frank, and Adrian, but I won't really go into their backstories or anything like that in this devlog, but if you're interested in that, make sure to leave a comment saying that, and maybe I'll do it in the next one. So apart from adding this new area, I also added some cool additions like jump pads. So if you remember from the previous devlog, I added these little warp crystals that you can use to go vertically and sometimes horizontally. And this week I added this new feature where you can use these jump pads if you have a different ability unlocked to go horizontally between locations. So there's a bit of a Metroidvania aspect in there where you can use the jump pads, but you see them around, and then once you get the ability, you can use them. In terms of how you get your abilities, you have to confront your own memories to do that. So if you remember, I mentioned that the ghost that you play as is amnesiac, and there are these bullet hell segments that you play through, and once you complete them, you can get your ability. So for example, you get your dash, and you can get the jump pad ability as well. There are more planned, but they're not going to be in the demo, so I won't spoil those. Another addition I made this week is I massively improved occlusion dithering. So basically what that means is if there's an object in front of you, you can still see your character through a silhouette, and the silhouette itself also has dithering. This feature has been there for a while, but it used to be really janky because the players are actually made of two sides. And what used to happen is with the wobbling of the ghost, the two sides used to interact with each other and used to be really awkward. But yeah, I managed to fix that and it looks really cool, so really happy with how that turned out. As you can see, you can go into the bushes and you can see your character really clearly, so it makes it easier to find secret items and stuff like that. But yeah, don't worry, I'm not going to hide anything super important in the bushes. It's just if you so want to go in there, you can find a little reward or something. I also added a catch-up mechanic for partners. Throughout the game, you'll have partners that follow you around and stuff, but what used to happen is if you dash away from them, since you're faster than them, they just kind of get lost over there. So I added this new mechanic where if they're too far away from you, they'll speed up and go closer to you. The next thing I have to do to make sure that they're not too far away from you at all times is to make them be able to go through warp crystals and be able to use jump pads as well. The last thing I'm going to show this week is this new cool gameplay movement, which I haven't finished, but here's a little sneak peek of how it looks like. As you can see, there's two characters involved, there's a split screen, so if you have any idea what it might be, leave a comment and we'll see, I guess, next week when I show it off for real, if you got it right. But yeah, for now, that's it. I guess I'll see you guys next Friday. I'm uploading these devlogs every Friday, so if that interests you, make sure to subscribe. And apart from that, following the Kickstarter page would be really helpful for visibility and also for getting that notification for those early tiers. So yeah, thanks for staying until the end, and I'll see you guys next week.